Hello everyone, Jackie Edwards here. I am actually in my office. I've got loads of places to go, but I was up and about already today. If you hear lots of noise behind me, my little doggo's down there having fun, chewing on his bone. So if you hear lots of crazy noises, that's him. Yeah, so today I want to talk about feeling shame. It's really a really interesting topic, and I was listening to, I think it was a podcast with one of my coaches that I listened to today, and just listening to her coach somebody else about feelings of shame. And this was feelings about shame around, I think something with her family, but it really struck me. So one of the things that she said was, if you can just accept and really feel the shame, then you can kind of like move on. Because as long as we're spending all of our time like hiding our shame. So for me, I thought like, oh, that shame that I get when I think I'm fat. So sometimes, you feel that shame. And of course I do. It's completely normal, that because like we've been socially and culturally conditioned to feel these things. So for instance, I think that caller that my coach was talking about, I think like her son got fired from a job. And so she was feeling ashamed because she thought she was a bad mother because her son didn't have like the work ethic to, succeed at this job. And like they talked all around different things. But like my thinking was like, she was only ashamed because, we've been culturally like indoctrinated now that, you have to be this perfect mother, that mothers have all the responsibility. And if anything's, the kids don't succeed at something, it's all the mother's fault, because the mothers are supposed to be perfect. Like we had this whole like perfectionist view around motherhood, and it's like, it's impossible. Like it's all these impossible goals for mothers and how they're, supposed to feel and do and be and act, and they all like fight against each other. We have the same thing as women with, well, I mean, honestly, as people with like everything around us in our lives. Like there's so much social and cultural pressure. And so if we look at being fat, it's like, oh, being fat is just bad. Like we should be ashamed of ourselves. It means that we're lazy. It means that we are unmotivated and we lack willpower and we can't stick with diets, and we should know better and we should always be working at being different. And if we're fat, it just means like we can't figure it out and we're not good enough. And like all of those things that we've been taught, even if nobody's actually come out and said that directly to you, like it's in everything. It's in all the cinema and all the newspaper and all the health reports. Like it's all around us in our society. So of course we feel ashamed sometimes when we think I'm fat, because we've been told it's wrong. Just like that lady had been told, like, it's wrong if your son fails, you've done something wrong. Because we're fat, we've done something wrong. Something that we should know better. Because it's all around us. We've been taught better. So we feel that shame. And then we try to hide that shame. And I think some of that, and we try to like hide that we're fat. Or we try to, really either, so there's so many different ways of doing this and trying to like hide that shame and push it down. So we can either like wear the big baggy clothes. So like, and try to like hide our fat. So, I always wear long sleeves because then people can't see my fat arms. Or I always wear, loose tops so you can't see my stomach because we're ashamed of being fat. Or we don't eat in front of other people because we're ashamed of seeing them eat, not them seeing us eat, because we're fat, we shouldn't have to eat. So all that shame can like manifest in so many different ways, or it can manifest in always talking about our diet and what we're doing to try to fix it. I see this happen in so many women. Even this weekend was with some of my in-laws, and like they're gorgeous. It's like beautiful, not fat people. And they were just talking about, I can't eat that, and oh, I ate so much and I shouldn't have, and the bad foods, and oh, you shouldn't eat that, and I shouldn't eat this, and I need to go and lose weight now after this weekend because I've eaten so much. And it's just so much pressure, but it's all that shame that we feel because we think I shouldn't be doing this. I'm ashamed of doing this. Now let me explain why I've done all of this so that I can cover up my shame, or I can let you see that I know I feel ashamed, so you don't have to like judge me. I know I'm fat. Here's how I'm trying to work on it. And that's how I cover up my shame. Whereas if we learn to just feel it, which is probably the hardest thing ever, because I think shame is one of the most difficult emotions to just sit and feel. But if we can learn to do that, and it will take practice over time, you're not just going to sit down and be like, oh, I feel ashamed. Let's just sit and see how that feels. Oh, no, I feel good now. Let's move on. Like, again, all this stuff is like the work of a lifetime. To learn how to sit with it, to say, yes, of course I feel ashamed. Let's see where that feels in my body. So when I feel ashamed, like my chest tightens up, and it's kind of like a little bit like anxiety. I feel just a little bit anxious, and I can feel my shoulders tense up, and I can feel like heaviness in my stomach. So if you go through that, like, what does shame feel like to you? It's probably going to feel different. But all emotions ultimately are just a feeling in our body. So if we can think of where is that feeling in our body, then we can just really start to tune into it and say, okay, so when I feel ashamed, it's just this tightness in my chest. It's just this heaviness in my stomach. It doesn't last forever. Maybe take a few breaths and think it's okay. I'm completely human. This is completely normal to be feeling this. We don't have to change anything and like try to hide our shame. And then the more we notice it, the easier it'll be to kind of like think something different and wiggle things out. So one of the tools my kind of coach does is she kind of like pokes holes in it then and like laughs about it. So it's like, why is this a problem? Why is it a problem if somebody sees your arms are bigger? Why is it a problem if somebody sees that you've eaten a burger or 2 burgers? Like, what? That doesn't mean you're a bad person. Are you a bad person? No. So why do you think you're a bad person? And it just kind of like wiggling out all those like thought loops that are in there that are kind of like malfunctioning. But we can't get rid of those thought loops until we really learn to accept kind of course we feel shame. And that's a valid feeling to have because that's what we've been taught to have. There's nothing bad about that feeling. There's nothing bad about any emotions because they're just sensations in our body coming out. And if we can learn to understand this is why I feel that way, again, usually because we've been culturally and socially conditioned by a fat-phobic patriarchy to hate ourselves and hate anything to do with being fat. So of course I feel ashamed for being fat because that's what I've been taught for my entire life. That's what my parents were taught. That's what my grandparents were taught. That's what everybody around me has been taught. So of course I feel ashamed. But, like, is there actually a problem here? What is that problem? And when you can kind of like start slowing it down to question some of those thoughts, that's when you'll be able to get rid of some of those patterns and those loops that keep happening. And when you realize it's okay to feel that shame. You're not going to die. It's going to be okay. And a really great book is, really great author is Brené Brown. She basically dedicated her life to researching vulnerability and kind of like the other side of shame and guilt and those feelings. So if you're looking for any books and authors, grab some Brené Brown. I actually love her audiobooks because she reads them herself. I love when an author reads her own audiobooks. So Brené Brown's awesome. She had a couple TED Talks if you want like a shortened version to really kind of go into those feelings of kind of shame and vulnerability because they all go together. And once we can kind of learn how to accept those, we'll be able to start clearing them out and then we'll be able to go towards accepting ourselves. So you may not be like, oh my God, I completely love myself. Every little roll, every little chunk, it's wonderful. It may take a while to get there. You may never get there, but at least you can stop feeling like, oh my God, I hate myself. Is this what I look like? What's wrong with me? I have to hide from society. I can't eat in front of anybody. I have to wear big baggy clothes. I can't let anybody know all these feelings of shame that I have. When we can start to flip that, we can start to open up new possibilities. And when there's new possibilities, like fucking anything is possible and it's amazing. And that's how we defeat the fat-phobic patriarchy, is by not hiding our shame, not hiding ourselves, and opening up to new possibilities for us and for the fucking world. All right, I'm going to leave it there at that because I've got some other things to do. My doggo's noisy, so I'm going to give him a couple of cuddles and then I will see you tomorrow.